Finding the way out. Married for 10 years to a fantastic wife and mother. 2 kids, 10-year-old boy and 5-year-old girl. Found out last June that my wife was having an affair with a coworker. Short version is that she had checked out of the relationship because she was, in her words, put through an emotional hell because of me. I was too controlling, didn't like her friends, her family, made her feel inadequate, ugly, not worthy, etc. for years. At that time, I took complete responsibility for the person I was and how I treated her. I could have been better, so much better of a husband than I was. Things were not always bad, but I can say that I did push her to the point where she broke. She tried to tell me many times, but I was too self-absorbed to really hear her and wake up. After D-Day it was hell, as you all know. Lots of crying, but I promised her to never ever take her for granted again, and that person was not me, and that I loved her and never ever stopped loving her. Just got caught up in life and lost sight of what really matters. She said that her affair had not gotten physical, and that they agreed to not let it get that far. I called the guy from her phone 15 minutes after D-Day and dropped his little secret on him. He said he was out and would not ruin my family, and that my wife loves me. I found out about this guy the summer before, as she mentioned a coworker wife was dying of cancer and she was helping him get through this tough time. Innocent then, but I warned her that as sad as it is, she needed to be very careful where this might go. I suppose if I had listened to myself and paid more attention to my wife, then there would have been no room for him. So fast forward, after I made a huge change in my reality of being the person she married and wanted in man. And believe me, I did. Showing and telling her that the kids and her were all that mattered, ever thinking that if I can be strong and change, I can look past this mess and we would be better for it. Well, 4 days ago, as I was running an errand for her, she mistexted me and hit me with the second bombshell, telling the that she loves him with everything that she is and they will see each other in just 2 more days. So, after 9 months of what I thought was a marriage on the mend and a new foundation beginning between us, it has turned into lies. All of it seems. She gave that there were times I wanted it to work and times I didn't. I just don't know speech. I, however, thought it was her trying to sort through this. But the affair was over. Huge mistake on my part. We went to counseling, but she wasn't really invested looking back now. Of course, that night D-Day #2 I texted the mother for and thanked him for ruining my life. She called him crying, saying he knows now. Blah blah. Rough night to say the least. Next day was very tough, lots of crying on both parties. I was emphatic I did not want this to end. She was sorry and said she never really let me back, and because she didn't want to be let down again and go back to what I was. Blah blah. This is actually out of state and she only see him when she travels back to headquarters a couple times a quarter, so it's not a local affair, except for the texts and emails and phone calls. I had to actually take her to the airport to fly back there 2 days after the second D-Day, last Monday. She told me in the car she does want to try and she does love me and she will end it with this guy. Not sure I buy that now. I'm going through every emotion these last few days listed on this site. The phone calls have been few and she still is defending her actions and not admitting guilt, as if I'm the one who drove her to cheat. I have told only a close friend so far and am seriously thinking of telling her parents and friends today. If I told her work, she would most likely lose her job, and I am concerned for my kids if things go the D road. I think I really still want this to work, but I'm thinking of the 180 for sure. What a mess. OP responds. The reality was I never doubted her the days things were great after D-Day, and when, while she was less that say engaged with our relationship during these past months, I felt she was just figuring things out emotionally between us. I gave her the benefit of the doubt is all I'm saying. I was a doormat in retrospect. If I would have seen this site before, it would have been way different. She is coming home today. Actually, we have talked some, but not super productive obviously, but says she misses her family. I did everything wrong here, I know. But how the hell was I supposed to know? I just found this site last night. At this point I'm thinking just slap her with D and tell her if she wants this to work, she will get her crap together. The job thing could be a deal breaker, but I guess that's the cards I'm dealt with. I can and will let her go. If I have to. Finding another woman will not be hard. I just don't want to give up just yet. That's why I'm here educating myself. The shoe dropped last night, sent the kids to my sister's and told her I want a D. Told her that if she wants this to work and keep this family together, she will need to quit her job traveling. She is not willing to do that. She is in love with the OM but also loves me, however doesn't see me having the tools to change for the long term. I'm thinking of still exposing to the workplace so that he can share in some of the fun too, just not sure how this might impact if she loses her job. I'm contacting an attorney tomorrow. Have to protect my kids now. I'm so angry and hurt and disgusted, but I honestly feel that if she quit the job, dumped OM and gave it a try, I would still fight for our marriage. So, another note, she seems to be doing some 180 of her own. This typical, or is this a pretty much we're done sign? Lawyer tomorrow and then see what the next step might be. Just told her she's on the coach until she out the door and she just about fell over. How could I do that? It's her bed too. Well, see if she actually does it. Why are some women are so messed up, or maybe just mine? Exposed to family, yes. Friends, no. Workplace, no. That will happen today. Told her mother, and although she was very sad, her last comment to me was, please, I know you're angry, but do not do anything to humiliate my daughter. What? I just about fell over. This is supposed to be a Catholic woman. I told her to stop feeling sorry for her daughter and recognize what she did was wrong. My parents would be shaking me and telling me to get my crap together and protect my family, you selfish trash. The wife passed away about a year ago, so I think that's why his soul is free now to shag my wife. They're in love supposedly, so whatever. She is actually considered a contractor for the company she works for, so not sure what the policies are. I do make much more than her, however. Talking to an attorney today just to get my ducks in a row. She may or may not get fired. If she did, she'd hate my guts, but I do need to out the mud. I see me being the residential parent due to her travel schedule that last few years. I'm in Oregon, so not sure about no fault. They'll check on that. Told her this morning that I do want our marriage to work if she wants it bad enough too. It will be hard as hell, but I would try for the kids and what love we have left to build on. I do love her, but the funny thing is, since I've been doing the 180-100%, I actually feel I'm 50-50 on the R&D. I assume this is normal to get yourself in that mindset, right? Man, this stuff is powerful. With that said, after I told her with no tears, matter of fact, I would like to still try to make it work, I waited 15 minutes, went down, got more coffee, filled her cup politely, and said, just so you know, I'm going to be getting things rolling for the D papers. Her jaw felt open. You tell me that after what you said just a bit ago. Sorry, but that's where I'm at with this, and if you want to talk about us, let me know. She said she needs to process this and wants to talk to her parents too. I'm still filing today, however. Well, it's official. She has thrown in the towel on repairing our marriage. Apparently, the feelings she has for this are too strong and she doesn't want to hurt me anymore. Really sucks, gang, as I would have given it another try if she wanted it bad enough. We actually talked about how to separate stuff, living arrangements, etc. God, that was the toughest conversation ever. She isn't in love with me, so I have to move on. Still pissed though, she cheated on me for so long even after I found out the first time. Anyway, I'm going to talk to a lawyer this week. I think I can keep the house if I don't make things ugly. Too late for that anyway, I guess. No point in exposing her at work at this point, just do more harm than good, I'm thinking. Sure, wish she wouldn't strung me along for 9 months. God, this sucks. I talked to a lawyer this week just to hear my options. She says she does not want this to get ugly and not involve lawyers, and at this point I'm thinking that may be the better route for me to save money. I know I will need to offer up something fair in the split, but I just don't want things to get bitter for the kids' sake at this point. She really doesn't deserve anything as far as I'm concerned. Her employment situation with the company is that she is considered a contractor. I do believe, however, that he is a full-time employee as he does work at the main headquarters, but I am not positive of that status. She explained to me that their relationship was always after hours and very little contact during work hours when she was traveling back there, except all the contact in the hotel she was staying. Her personnel work cell and laptop are used for work and for the communication between her and the his, I believe, is a company issue laptop though. He is not a direct supervisor to my knowledge, but did have a lot of involvement in some of her new training requirements, and I know of one occasion she told me yesterday where he flew into another city she was in while she was on the job. All in all, I would have to say he had a very big impact on her advancement and her job duties. He actually had to teach her one-on-one to learn some new computer software before D-Day hit. So, we are leading down the path of divorce, right? Things are tense, but we are being cooperative because of the kids. They have been through way too much already, it makes me sick. She decides she doesn't want to be here tonight and sleep on the couch. She takes our 5-year-old daughter with her to her sister's, and my 10-year-old son wants to stay with me. Sitting there at Red Robin with my boy, and I'm getting more and more pissed because I have half of my family with me and I shouldn't even be in this goddamn position. So, I text her, either that or punch the waiter in the chest, which wouldn't be right. Me, sitting here with half my family. Awesome, thanks. Her 20 minutes later when I'm at home, Bill, I'm sorry, do you want to talk? Me, no, I want a divorce. She tries to call, I don't answer. W, why are you shouting that? Me, I'm not shouting anything. W, well, you said I want a divorce, exclamation. Me, oh, sorry, I want a divorce. W, why won't you talk to me? Me, because I'm done talking. W, did something happen? Me, yeah, my wife of 10 years is another guy while her husband sits home and watches the kids. Have you not been paying attention? I mean, really, did that just go down? I am kicking this broad to the curb because I don't even know who that was. Is it possible this guy's sperm erased part of her memory? Wow, the sisters, she is aware. Whole family is now, but they're most likely in protect my little girl mode. Poor thing, in a terrible marriage frame of mind. What I am expecting though, is she will come back tomorrow and have this awakening that she all of a sudden wants to work it out and talk it through. The more times go on, the less I'm feeling I want to do anything but divorce after all the damage that's been done. I have not exposed him at walk just yet because of what impact it could have on me if she loses her job. I know the majority are saying expose. But if this thing goes ugly and she has no job, I have to pay alimony. I will be talking to an attorney to see what the fallout might be. Anyone have feedback on this? I don't see any way I can nuke this guy without affecting my wife at this point. at least at the job. Curious though, with alimony does it not matter when and why she loses her job, it's just as she doesn't have a job. I mean, the more I dig into this, the more it appears they have this all planned out, which she says she does not. But hell, I can't believe anything anymore. Oh, I may be leaving out some critical details. She is contracted by trade. This job is her main source of income. She has another doing similar but different duties for a very well-known company at which she could actually increase her time there and make additional income. So, I guess what I am saying is she has the potential to earn more doing job B if she so chooses, which would be the best way to go if I can come out ahead. I can always blow him up after the dust has settled. I mean, my wife is not very good at this. She left her Kindle her last night, so I just happened to open it up and poof, her Facebook account was open. Lots of correspondence between the OM since last December. Took a picture of it, and man, in her industry if I went viral with this thing. Wow, thinking I may use that leverage if things get really bad or I'm not happy with how it's going. As far as he goes, my second job in life will be to make him the most notorious wife stealer ever. Had a long convo with the wife after she returned from her sister's. A, she's planning on moving out with her divorced backstabbing girlfriend who also cheated on her husband because she wasn't in love, happy or whatever. B, one of the work friends I exposed to contact her, which I figured would happen. Wanted to know what the hell I was doing and that I am hurting the kids even more and that I need to stop and that she is not painting me in a bad light over this to anyone and that she doesn't want this to get ugly and blah blah. See, and just so you know, I called my company and told them and that I may get fired. Are you happy now? Wasn't quite expecting that, but I knew people knew what was up. Too small of a company. She said they are discussing it and that maybe she might take time off or something if they feel they wish to keep her. I do believe she did it, but not with the impact I would have. She just wants to get this over peacefully and feels I'm being vengeful. Really, I told her I wasn't trying to be vengeful at all, just wanted people to know the truth. She said I would never understand walking in her shoes for years, feeling dependent on someone for everything, having to ask for everything, giving up everything she used to love to do and the people she'd do it with. Friends understand why she did it, but I will never be able to, cause I never had to experience that in life. Let's see. She has a job that she loves and is able to fly around the country while her husband is willing to stay home and be with the kids. She had crap when I met her and basically fed and gave her a place to stay before we were married and supported her through school. Bought her a new house. Had 2 beautiful kids. I don't hang out in bars. I don't go to clubs. I don't gamble. So, she brought up the splitting of things. She said I could have the house, but if we sell it, she wants half. And that any retirement I accumulated when married, she deserves half too. She also is afraid of me going for custody, which has crossed my mind. I told her I wouldn't do that to the kids. 50-50, maybe. House is mine, she gets nothing if I sell it. New car is hers, $20,000, and the OM can take care of her retirement, as I'm sure he cashed in on a life insurance policy when his wife passed. She looks beaten down too. She cried and said she just wants to go away and be alone and not see or talk to anybody this weekend so she can think and breath. I don't see this OM moving here anytime soon, as he has 2 kids of his own that he is raising by himself. And if I'm not mistaken, his position entails him to be local at the office. Nothing that couldn't change, of course. I'm thinking her telling the company is more or less BS, so I don't go any further with exposing this thing. She is now telling people we know that she had an affair and we are getting a divorce. I know this because I got to them early and they reached out to me. My goal is to take care of these kids first and foremost, whatever that means as far as custody, and try to handle this without getting lawyers involved. You know, the crappy thing is that she has been gone since yesterday, and not once has my kids asked where mommy is. Has she reached out to me to see if they are okay? Just another weekend with mom gone, I guess. Simply pathetic. No way she's coming back in my life. She had that chance after the first D-Day with this guy. Lied herself off for 9 months going underground, talking to the OM on the phone in front of my son several times during that time, making me think that all was fine as we were striving to fix myself and our marriage. She's garbage, and if it wasn't for our kids, I'd throw her out like so. I still to this day cannot understand how a human being can do this to their children, a supposed best friend of 10+ years, and wake up still justifying what they have done. I handled this all wrong from the beginning, which is why I am here today. Protecting my kids and me are the only priority now, and I have begun the process. I want out of this without making it as ugly as possible, with my kids' best interest at hand is all. Coming to an agreement outside the courtroom is the quickest, most painless, for my kids and me, not to mention less expensive in the long run. I am prepared to do what I need to. So, the wife came back tonight and wants to stay here until she finds a permanent place to live to make things somewhat normal for the kids. I told her she needs to get out at SAP and I don't care where she goes. My son senses what's going on and asked me tonight if we are getting a divorce. I'm actually seeing this a bit now. No phone calls, but she's texting all over the place like before. I told her I want her out at SAP. She's so already okay with the D, it seems it makes me sick. I just might throw her crap out tomorrow, I'm so pissed. I do have evidence of her and the OM using company time and money for their affair and will exposing tomorrow. Are there any real laws that are broken here or just company policy type rules? I want this guy fired, but as I say, small company, and the owners may be reluctant to do anything in hopes things blow over if they too are sympathetic to both of their love for one another, assuming they do know, as my wife has stated. So, she came back after being gone all weekend at her parents'. Supposedly, she said she wants to stay here until she finds a permanent place and will sleep on the couch. She indicated that she feels it would be the best interest for our son to not tell him or move out until his school year is over so that it will not affect him any more than it has. I told her calmly I want her out at SAP and that she needs to find a place by the end of this week, don't care where. I told her that our son already knows what's about to happen, as he is not stupid and he will be fine if we do this with him, and our daughter is the priority. She has agreed to move out to her crappy girlfriend's appointment. Spoke to my second one already, and according to both I have a pretty good case for sole custody with her drinking and her travel frequency if I so choose. Is that the best for my kids? Well, probably not, because she, I feel, is not a danger to my kids, just doesn't think of them before her own selfish behavior. The reality is I do not want her back, so I am looking at this after the filing. I want to be smart here and get as much in my favor during the negotiating process. I was told that I don't want her to lose her job because I need her working. More work, more travel, more time. She's gone. She just left today for another few days. I want her out, but she has nowhere to go really until she finds a place, and she keeps rubbing the affair in my face like it's my fault. I want to pack her crap and have it sitting in the garage when she gets back. Update. For whatever reason, just haven't been able to sit and put my thoughts into words with the crap I'm having to deal with. I'm exhausted emotionally, to say the least. So, here's where it stands. D is inevitable, as we are looking at finalizing the judgment today. We are doing this without lawyers and have come to what I feel is a good situation for the kids and me at this point, if you can call it that. Keep in mind I was preparing for war though. Joint custody, I was pushing for what is called joint, with me having final overriding decision if we could not agree, but she called BS to that. I keep house and everything in it. She gets newer car and a part of my retirement. I pay what we're calling childcare, which is actually less than what the real figure would be had we gone the distance, and no alimony. She would actually get a crap load. Where I'm located in a no-fault, liberal as it gets state, I would have been exposed to the high heavens according to legal advice, with maybe a shot at full custody, but not great. Keep in mind the kids were my main concern here, and if I was guaranteed sole, I would have given her everything. Taking it to the limit would have cost me plenty, with most likely a joint situation in the end, as rarely would they give the father full custody unless I could prove without a doubt she is unfitting, which she is not according to the law. A backstabbing, cheating, lying, she is through, but that holds no weight in my case. In all reality, it is what is best for the kids, as they do love and need their mother. Here's what's been the tough part. I can't kick her out by law for 30 days, so she has been living here on the couch, bouncing around looking toward her great new life with the OM. She hopes we can still be friends for the kids' sake though. Puke. No remorse whatsoever to this point. I've pretty much exposed to all with the exception of going full tilt at her work. Although her losing her job would make me smile tremendously, it doesn't help my situation nor my kids. Plus, she would then go for the throat with nothing to lose. Besides, there is no way I would ever take her back at this point. The thing I laugh about is she is so pissed that I have told her friends and feels that it's not my job to do that, it's hers. She says I'm a psycho and her close friends think so too. Funny, right? I often ask her how she would handle it given my situation, with always the response, I don't know, go figure. The law here states cannot move more than 60 miles without other parents' consent, otherwise it goes to mediation and then court if no an agreement. I do like the 10-mile idea, however. So, something happened last night I was not expecting that I would like some feedback on. Came home from work and the STBX mentioned she wanted to alter the judgment on the divorce prior to signing. She felt that I was not being honest about monies, and that with all of the exposure I did cannot trust me to do the fair thing, and that all of her friends and colleagues are telling her to get an attorney and that he's taking advantage of you, etc. That conversation swayed into a 3-hour back and forth emotional roller coaster on our marriage and why she had the with OM, and that she did still love me, but I am not capable of loving her the way she needs and haven't for years, and that's why we are here, etc. All she wanted was for me to love her the way a man should love their wife, telling them each and every day how important they are, etc. She doesn't want me to hate her and she wants to be friends, at least for the kids' sake. Although I will not ever agree that what she did justifies how she was feeling towards our relationship, she still seems confused, like she loves both me and the OM and doesn't want to lose either. That's why she couldn't tell me about the because she didn't want to lose me or the kids, but could not let go of the either. Is this typical for cheaters? Is this false, or possibly? I'm just a little odd and not sure how to process it quite yet. I did change actually after the first D-Day, complete overhaul of how I may have been taking her for granted, overlooking the things she was needing emotionally, etc. I did have things to improve on to make a better and stronger marriage, but she decided to cake eat while I was doing all of this with me, thinking I was building a new foundation for our relationship, only to catch her again. Way too much damage, lies, deceit has been done, sorry to say. She is the most selfish human being I know. To do this to 2 little kids is beyond comprehension to me. Yet it happens every day. Go figure. My comment: just run, don't look back, run far away. Story 2. My wife and I have been together for 8.5 years, and our families finally got a big day out on us last November. The preceding 8 years had not been smooth sailing by any means. My wife has always been troubled by the trauma of a neglectful, and at times, downright abusive childhood. By her own admission, this leads her to emotional instability, a lack of faith in her own judgment, trust, and anger issues. I myself am no angel, but her unresolved trauma, which always lies just below the skin, brings out the worst in me. When she gets angry or upset over something I see as trivial, I in turn resent her for starting an argument. When she blows up and starts calling me names and telling me we're done, I walk away and give her space, but I leave it too long. Instead of seeking her out, I let her stew. I get blinded by my own feelings and don't do all I can to help us through. I want to approach her, hug her, and tell her this all silly, my love, but fear about making things worse. I've also kept things from her, nothing big, nothing hurtful, and certainly no betrayal, but still, not always as honest as I want to be with my beloved for fear of her reaction, or perhaps trying to avoid another argument and more hurting, pouting, and stewing. It's always worst after there's an incident with her family. Our worst period was shortly after her sister got very sick several years ago, and although she made a full recovery, the way her family behaved during that time left a lasting effect on her, which also coincided with a lot of arguing between us. Our first proper breakup came when I made a comment during dinner which, and I'm trying to avoid her most hated of my phrases, but she took the wrong way. She was done, she wanted me gone. I left with all my belongings and stayed with family to lick my wounds. A few weeks later, she called me and asked me to come home. My only answer was my always answer for her. Of course, she all but stopped talking to her parents and one of her sisters 3 years ago after a huge row at Christmas. When we finally set a date for us to get married, it was inevitable she would face a dilemma about her parents. They were invited though, and when our big day came, she tried to receive them in the most hospitable way possible. In return, she spent most of the evening of our reception playing marriage counselor to her parents, talking them out of murdering one another and listening to tall tales of them hating each other and getting a divorce. On her wedding day, after that, she was done with them. But then came the first 6 months of our marriage, which turned out to be our worst 6 months. Arguing, distrust, suspicion bordering on delusion. Too many fights and arguments, too much rehashing old battles. During this time, 3 little letters appeared in out vocabulary BPD. I discovered it, she embraced the possibility of it. It explained so much. She started going to see an old counselor she had seen previously. The counselor suggested psychotherapy. We agreed there were so many issues that bled into our relationship that needed to be dealt with. We wanted to be stronger moving forward. After some time seeing her counselor alone, we would seek couples therapy. That was the plan. The past few weeks have been horrendous though. She has been irritable, quiet, sullen, and detached, and often terribly cold to me. There has been arguing, there has been sulking. There have been extended periods of not talking to one another or barely muttering basic pleasantries before skulking off to separate corners of the house. She is hurting. Sometimes the reasons don't make sense to me. Sometimes I don't know what to do. We broke the latest round of silence, but I didn't say the right things. She was done again, it's over. The 3rd time in 3 weeks. I thought at the very least me leaving would give us space to heal. It felt like the right thing. Then I did something terrible. I wanted to talk about our wonderful dogs who we both cherish. They're our babies. She wanted none of it. They're her dogs, she said. The implication was her dogs now. I walked away upset. I tried again. She wouldn't talk. I put a leash on one of them and made for the door. I didn't know what I was doing, where I was planning on going. I wanted to shock her out of the detached state and discuss them with me. She jumped in front of me, screaming. I tried to open the door, she tried to stand in my way. I continued to try and open the door regardless. She struggled with me over our poor frightened dog, and eventually she called the police. I went and sat on the bed with him and felt nothing but shame as I handed her my keys and told her I'd wait for the police, but they're my dogs, too. It still overwhelms me as I type this. It was a hurtful, selfish, juvenile thing to do. I scared us all. I scared her the most. I was detained by the police as she told them I had pushed her. I believe she was coached by the policewoman to say that in order to have me removed, at least for a few hours. I hold no ill will towards her for this. My behavior was reprehensible. She was terrified and I had to go. I was released shortly afterwards and spent the night elsewhere. I collected my things the next day. I've had brief contact with her sister who is staying with her in our home at the moment. Just breakup logistics. So, we're done. Or, I guess technically, separated. I know my wife. She doesn't forgive easily. I've vilified myself and will have undone almost a decade of love and cherished memories in a moment of desperation. I love the very bones of her, warts and all, just like the John Legend song. I have no idea what she feels for me. I can't even apologize sincerely to her for fear she'll see it as a misguided manipulation to worm my way back. but all I want to be say sorry. I'm so sorry. I recognize my own trust issues. After our first breakup, which came out the blue and appeared to be an over-emotional reaction to something I said, they were amplified 10x. Although we got past it after a few weeks, there were things I did which I shouldn't have. The major issue she's been having for the past few months was over money. We got a joint account shortly after the break. She was more for it than I, but it worked in the end and resolved some minor money issues we'd be having. But I didn't tell her I had some savings, not much, but our whole relationship I'd secretly been saving for a deposit for a home for us, as I knew she couldn't save for toffee. I had always planned to give it to her as a wedding gift and perhaps encourage her to join me in saving. However, I was also safe in the knowledge that if she broke us up again, I would have some security at least. This wasn't the driving factor for hiding it, but it was a thing, no doubt. So, when we did marry, I wrote her a card and told her we had some money to start our married life, that I had savings. She hated me for keeping this from her. She felt betrayed and felt I only put the money aside in case I was out in the street again. It was as if she recognized my trust issues but didn't want to shoulder any responsibility for helping us fix them. I didn't think I had done anything to the extent to which she made me feel guilty, but I do recognize I shouldn't have kept it from her for so long. I've been on an emotional roller coaster for the past few days. Guilt, shame, anger, and even positive thinking at times. I catch myself thinking, well, if we do try and save this thing we have, she has to address her issues in a meaningful and committed way. And that's all I ever wanted. Then I remember that the likelihood of her burdening her portion of the blame is slim. I still feel like trash. I know I went crazy. I know I shouldn't have gone for the dog. I still don't know what was going on in my head. Her sister, who was very friendly and didn't display any hostility in her messages, let me know that she had been incredibly scared and wanted me to put in writing that I wouldn't make another play for the dog and that I understand that the best place for him is with her. That is true. I've had to move an hour out of town and would be gone too long, and it would be unfair to him. We also have another dog at home and it would be unfair and uncool to separate them. So, I gave her what she wanted. I put a note through our door with a brief apology and said I understood the dogs should stay with her. No contact other than that. I don't expect any. She's done the whole unfriend, change status, block on Facebook, and I got an automatic email to say she'd removed my email address as her security info with Microsoft. Despite the crazy making, I still want this to be the change for us that was needed. A proper love fools. I'm waiting to see a counselor to talk through my thoughts, and I'm looking forward to it. I understand that now, as someone who spent a long time putting we before me, I have to concentrate on making me strong and better than before, not for her, but for me. I still have a life to lead with her or without. So, we'll see. I had not long come back from taking the dogs for a walk. They needed another. I felt like she is telling me she was denying me access to them. I had no intention of kidnapping the dog. I just wanted to get out of the house with him and cool off, but also wake her out of the cold, robotic fug she'd been in, realize how much I cared and talk with me about them. I didn't push her. She stood in the way of me opening the door, started screaming, and there was jostling over the dog. My hands were on the leash or the doorknob the whole time. But she feels like she was pushed. I'm not a doormat, but that sort of behavior is not me, especially not to the person I love. So that's 2 weeks tomorrow since I last saw her as I was carted away in the back of a police car. It's been an absolute roller coaster for me. I've been up and down. As you'd expect, when I think of everything at face value, I get very upset. Shame, guilt, I ruined it. What could I have done differently? I convince myself that it's not the borderline traits that did this, it was my behavior. But when I spend hours reading BPD articles, books and forums and everything lights up like a neon sign, I get angry, mostly at myself. I resent myself sitting with my head in my hands when I know she isn't. In fact, she'll be putting on her happy face, telling everyone she was a fool to stay so long, let alone marry me, and totally detaching herself from any real emotion. I don't think she's monster and I don't resent her much, or do I actually? I really do. But deep down I know she's broken, I just never knew how much. Earlier in the week, I tried messaging her sister on Facebook to ask how my wife was, who I've always got along really well with. She promptly unfriended and blocked me. I'd bet my shoes she went straight to my wife and followed what she told her to do. My wife has always been a bit bullish towards her. I guess my big issue I'm struggling to come to terms with is the loss of faith and trust. I know people have been cheated on and abused and wrung for every last dime by people they married because they believed in big love, but I guess I never thought it would be me. Now I'm mostly sitting wondering if the big emotional hurricane is going to blow through her head when she can no longer detach from the reality of our split, as happened last time. If in her sadness and possible depression alone at home with no family or friends close by, she paints me white again and can't believe what she's done and tries to backpedal, or if the switch is stuck and I'm just the damn STBX. She broke no contact to tie up some loose ends regarding our joint account. Sent me a cold email to tell me she'd canceled my direct debits and asked me to close down the website I made for her business as she didn't want the web hosting charges to continue without asking her. I didn't reply. I'll simply do as she asks and leave it at that. 6-week update. Nothing from her. She's certainly still done at this point. I had to find a new home. Replied to an ad for a house share owned by a cougar, 40-something blonde. She was very keen for me to move in. She's rich, doesn't really need the money. House is massive in a great, well-to-do part of town. She messaged me saying she was very keen for me to take a room. Her other roommate, 25-year-old blonde, asked to meet me for a drink just to check for creepy weirdo vibes. Apparently, she thought I was the best thing ever, so I've got the room, which is awesome. Then on the same day I randomly bumped into one of my sister's bridesmaids in town. She was in full-on flirt mode, hugs and gazing eyes, especially when she was asking after my wife, and I told her we had split. She offered her number for when she is back in town full-time next month. Of course, lovely as all this is, it's just a much-needed ego boost for me, nothing more. I've been made to feel like such a bad guy recently. It was really nice to meet women who don't see me as, well, whatever my wife sees me as at the moment. My comment: you're lucky you haven't heard from her. She will pop up at some point, no doubt with drama storm. Just keep pushing forward and think less about what your STBX sees you as. In the beginning, the bad guy role will buy you a tad, but as time goes on, you'll joke about it.